All right. Well, we're moving along here. We're going to talk about the, on page 4, this is disclosure. And we're going to start out with line 134. 4A, 134. Seller Property Disclosure Statement, SPDS. The seller shall deliver a completed AAR residential SPDS form to the buyer within 5 days after contract acceptance. Buyer shall provide notice of any SPDS items disapproved within the inspection period or 5 days after receipt of the SPDS, whichever is later. Insurance claims history, line 137, 4B. Seller shall deliver to buyer a written 5-year insurance claims history regarding premises or a claims history for the length of time seller has owned the premises if less than 5 years from seller's insurance company or an insurance support organization or consumer reporting agency, or if unavailable from these sources from seller within 5 days after contract acceptance. Seller may obscure any reference to date of birth or social security number from the document. Buyer shall provide notice of any items disapproved within the inspection period or 5 days after receipt of the claims history, whichever is later. Lead-based paint disclosure. If the premises were built prior to 1978, the seller shall notify the buyer of any known lead-based paint or lead-based paint hazards in the premises. Provide the buyer with any lead-based paint risk assessments or inspections of the premises in the seller's possession. Provide the buyer with the disclosure of information on lead-based paint and lead-based paint hazard and any report records, pamphlets, and/or other materials referencing therein, including the pamphlet "Protect Your Family from Lead in Your Home," collectively lead-based paint information. Buyer shall return a signed copy of the disclosure of information on lead-based paint and lead-based paint hazards to seller prior to close of escrow. Checkbox. Lead-based paint information was provided prior to contract acceptance, and buyer acknowledges the opportunity to conduct lead-based paint risk assessments or inspections during inspection period. Seller shall provide lead-based paint information within 5 days after contract acceptance. Buyer may within 10 days or blank days after receipt of the lead-based paint information conduct or obtain a risk assessment or inspection of the premises for the presence of lead-based paint or lead-based paint hazards. Assessment period. Buyer may within 5 days after receipt of the lead-based paint information or 5 days after expiration of the assessment period cancel this contract. Buyer is further advised to use certified contractors to perform renovation, repair, or painting projects that disturb lead-based paint in residential properties built before 1978 and to follow specific work practices to prevent lead contamination. And initials would be required if premises were constructed prior to 1978, buyer initials required. If premises were constructed in 1978 or later, buyer initials required. Okay, affidavit of disclosure. If the premises is located in an unincorporated area of the county, and 5 or fewer parcels of property other than subdivided property are being transferred, the seller shall deliver a complete affidavit of disclosure in the form required by law to the buyer within 5 days after contract acceptance. Buyer shall provide notice of any affidavit of disclosure items disapproved within the inspection period or 5 days after receipt of the affidavit of disclosure, whichever is later. Changes during escrow. Seller shall immediately notify buyer of any changes in the premises or disclosures made herein in the SPUDS, SPDS, or otherwise such notice shall be considered an update of the SPDS unless seller is already obligated by Section 5A or otherwise by this contract or any amendments hereto to correct or repair the changed items disclosed. By buyer shall be allowed 5 days after delivery of such notice to provide notice of disapproval to seller. Seller warranties. This is Section 5. Line 166, seller warranties. Seller warrants and shall maintain and repair the premises so that at the earlier of possession of close of escrow, all heating, cooling, mechanical, plumbing, and electrical systems, including swimming pool and or spa, motors, filter systems, cleaning systems, and heaters, if any, freestanding range oven, and built-in appliances will be in working condition. All other agreed upon repairs and corrections will be completed pursuant to Section 6. The premises, including all additional existing personal property included in the sale, will be in substantially the same condition as on the date of contract acceptance, and all personal property not included in the sale and all debris will be removed, from the premises. Warranties that survive closing. Seller warrants that seller has disclosed to buyer and broker all material latent defects and any information concerning the premises known to seller, including opinions of value which materially and adversely affect the consideration to be paid by buyer prior to the close of escrow. Seller warrants that payment in full will have been made for all labor, professional services, material, machinery, fixtures, or tools furnished within the 150 days immediately preceding the close of escrow in connection with the construction, alteration, or repair of any such structure or improvement to the premises. Seller warrants that the information regarding connections to a sewer system or on-site wastewater treatment facility, conventional septic, or alternative is correct to the best of seller's knowledge. Buyer warranties. Buyer warrants that buyer has disclosed to seller any information that may materially and adversely affect the buyer's ability to close escrow or complete the obligations of this contract at the earlier possession of the premises or close of escrow. Buyer warrants to seller that buyer has conducted all desired independent inspections and investigations and accepts the premises. Buyer warrants that buyer is not relying on any verbal representation or any verbal representations concerning the premises except disclosed as follows. And you can put on line 183 and 184 the information and initials. And we're through, and that's page 5, and we're going to go on to page 6 on the next video. And I hope you'll join me for that, and we'll get through this together. Thank you.